Spider-Man No Way Home. More like Spider-Man No Way He's Gonna Meet Venom.
Hello? That's not funny!
Salutations, everyone. I'm Niru, and hey, look at that! I have finally watched a movie in the theater. It's been very long. I think the last movie I've seen that was new in the theater was Free Guy, and that was like what, in August, I think. Yeah. I haven't been in the theater for a long time. How the theater hasn't been that much of a place that I've gone to for a while since, due to me not having a vaccination yet, or, because busy with the family and everything. It's been, or me busy with streaming in general, and I haven't been able to be like, do I really want to go to the theater? I mean, I was thinking of watching Venom, but I was like, nah. I was thinking of No Time to Die, but then I was like, nah, already busy. Hey, things got pretty hectic. Heck, until there was a point where I was like, oh, hey, that new Spider-Man movie looks awesome. I'm gonna watch it. And it's like I needed to watch it. Like it was a promise to myself saying like I am not missing another Spider-Man movie that probably is really good in the theater. And I don't want the last Spider-Man movie I seen to be that was in the theater would be No Way Home. And I didn't like No Way. No, wait, not No Way Home. Far From Home. I'm sorry. Far From Home. I'm sorry. Hey, I did not like Far From Home. Far From Home was meh to me. No Way Home. I actually liked it. I enjoyed it. I loved the movie. It is actually a pretty good Spider-Man movie that references a lot of callbacks to the movies. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it was forced, kind of like with Norman Osborn, like, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. Because I was like, I mean, they could have done the No Time to Die route where they take the James Bond references but also make them integral to the plot. Like it isn't forced like fan service. It's more like, oh, it's part of the plot. So that's awesome. They're doing references to the movies, but they're gonna go and do it where it makes sense to by weaving it into the whole main story. And that scientist one was kind of forced, but hearing the "with great power comes great responsibility" line, I was happy to hear that again. Uh, I kind of laughed at parts where it was like where I was like thinking like when I heard like, yeah, someone said that to me too, and I was like, no, they didn't. They said it longer and different. And I'll get to that later. But No Way Home is really like Peter Parker learning from mistakes that he's made. I mean, he has made a dumb mistake, which was not calling the school first to say, "Hey, look, I need you to help. Like, I know you don't care about me due to the recent controversy, but at least have my friends still make it to college, basically." And he could have called them and he could have won them over. He could have done something like, yeah, we can work something out or something. But no, uh, it was just him thinking, no, I'll go to Doctor Strange first and fuck things up, which he does. And it's so cool to see like all the villains back and all the original actors as well, especially Doc Ock, who was my favorite villain in the Spider-Man Sam Raimi trilogy. I'm kind of disappointed that his tentacles are no longer in close-up shots, the puppeteer work, because that's what I loved. It was like they mixed it with CGI, but also mixed it with these cool like puppeteer work where they got like these people controlling the tentacles, and it looked like, oh wow, that's cool that they blended in practical with CGI for some of the action stuff, and for the close-up shots with the tentacles that would be practical effects. But sadly in the movie they just went full CGI, and it's really noticeable when they do very close-up shots. I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. I don't know. I just feel like I didn't like how it was blatantly obvious how it looked very CGI. Um, I was so in love that John Watts clearly knew that I do not want to show the Green Goblin in that silly mask that he wore in the original movie. He immediately has that mask broken, and in the moment in the movie when Green Goblin was wearing this hoodie, it get progressively more damaged and destroyed, and then you start to see the actual like Green Goblin suit, but the torn up hoodie now looks like the hood that he wore in the comics, and it's just Defoe's face looking crazy and insane. And I was like, yes! I was so happy that they did that, because like thinking like, hey, this is a good actor that can look crazy and psychotic, that his face was made to be the Green Goblin. Do not try to hide that with a silly looking Power Rangers mask. And they didn't in this movie because they knew that fans wanted to see that psychotic face of Defoe's being Green Goblin. I was like, that was cool. I loved that. I was so happy that they were like, we're gonna mix it with the original suit, but we're gonna make it look like the suit from the comics, basically, with the hood and everything. I mean, I know it was different in the comics, but I'm talking about later on. Maybe not the comics I'm thinking of. I think I'm thinking of the '90s cartoon. The '90s cartoon, he had the hood. He had the hood, and he had like the glider. And he's like, I was so happy to see that, especially Defoe. His performance as Green Goblin, amazing. I missed him as the Green Goblin. The dude, it's like he never left that performance. It's like he looked like he had fun coming back into the role of the Green Goblin. But but now, after seeing when he came to the universe of the MCU, it really is a disappointing interesting thing to learn that Oscorp does not exist in the MCU, which kind of sucks, honestly. I was really disappointed learning that, whereas like Oscorp doesn't exist. I'm like, really? So Harry Osborn doesn't exist? The Osborn name does not exist as well? That is really disappointing. Hey, I was honestly sad about that when it came to the realization, yeah, the Goblin will not exist in this universe probably, which kind of sucks, honestly. I'm very sad about that we're not going to get a different version of the Green Goblin. I'm actually pretty sad about that. But it was nice to see him back, and he does a great job. I feel like he steals a lot of scenes in this film, which I liked. Seeing Thomas Hayden Church back as Sandman, I was like, yes. And when I saw him, like, I was like curious to wonder, why the hell is he stuck as the Sandman? Like, is it because so we can have the joke that he is just gonna dirty places up with his sand? Because I don't understand why. Because he can form back into looking like he's human. I just don't know why. I just don't understand why he has to stay in the Sandman form. It didn't make sense, honestly. But I was like, okay. I mean, it was nice to hear Thomas Hayden Church again. And when there is one scene, I'm not going to spoil what and when he does it, but he does come back to human form, like looking like a human. And I was like, wow, he looks like he hasn't aged since 2007. It really doesn't look like he aged since he did Spider-Man 3. He looks the same as he did in Spider-Man 3, and I was like, wow, you haven't aged a day, haven't you, man? You still look good. And I was like, hey, you could probably still play Sandman again if you want to, because I really want to see him. Sandman's motivations kind of were spotty to me because I don't understand why he was helping the bad guys, because I was like, I don't know, Sandman wasn't a bad guy. Not only that, he was trying to steal money so he can help get proper surgery and medical attention for his daughter. And I was like wondering, why is he attacking the heroes? I mean, doesn't he want to go back home to see his daughter? I mean, isn't this a shock to him seeing like, hey, I'm here in a different universe. I need to see my daughter again, and I'll do anything to see my daughter again. But no, he just starts fighting villains, and I'm like confused. Like, why are you doing this? Like, don't you want to go back home? He's like, I don't care. I was like, what do you mean you don't care? You have a daughter, don't you? Don't you care about your daughter? This doesn't make sense. Why are you fighting them? It really was like, what? It was just like a what the fuck moment. Like, he just suddenly was like, you know what? Switching sides because Green Goblin told me that I should stay with these powers and become somewhat of a god or something. I was like, huh? Sandman's motivations kind of switched around so much in this movie that I was like, what the fuck is going on with Sandman? There, Electro. Damn. I as much as I do like his blue look in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I really did like the blue modernized version of Electro, not the silly costume that I've seen. I did like to see Jamie Foxx more like, I'm just gonna be like kinda like the original Electro with the silly costume and everything, but it's just gonna be a little Easter egg reference. Aha, the lightning formed the mask and something. And Jamie Foxx did well in the role. Oh, I mean, he still has that, like, the reason why he doesn't want to go back to being normal because he felt like a nobody, just like he did in Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's amazing I still remember Spider-Man 2 despite how forgettable it is of a movie. But I did remember the character development that he went through in that film and how he felt like he wanted to be known, to be seen, and he felt like Spider-Man was different because he knew his name and he felt like he got attention. And it was a pretty sad backstory to him that he wanted to be known. And the only way he was known to people is that if he became the bad guy, which was Electro. Oh, which I was pretty cool to see that they kept those backstories and actually kind of made these villains, like, made Electro redeemable at the end, where it's like give him a second chance at life, basically. In fact, that's which I liked a lot, especially seeing. I was happy to see a lot of these villains again. Uh, Doc Ock, obviously, the Lizard. I'm still disappointed that he's not in the lab coat. I'm sorry. I know people are like, Jesus Christ, Wolf, can you let it go that he's not wearing the lab coat? I'm not gonna let it go at all because I love the lizard in the 90s cartoon. He had the lab coat on, he looked fucking awesome. And I just don't like him as this naked looking lizard. I thought he looked awesome in the lab coat. Give me the lizard in a lab coat. For God's sakes, I want him in a lab coat. I am not gonna let this go until I see a proper live action version where he was in the lab coat. Hell, Sam Raimi could have put him in the lab coat if he had the time to have the lizard in his movie. He would have done it. Damn it. Oh, I will say this, and this is spoiler sections right here if you want to leave. I did like this character development of Peter Parker coming to grips with being Spider-Man and being known to the world about his secret identity, his relationship with MJ and his friends, and seeing him contemplating his life, wondering if life would be better if his mistake didn't mess things up. And he feels like he's trying to redeem things. He's trying to, and it is shows that he's good natured. He has a good heart. He's thinking about his friends, thinking, hey, maybe I can fix things. Maybe I can do things better. And then yes, it's piles and piles on mistakes he's made. And it's one scene where he's trying to redeem these villains. And he didn't, because he's like, he hears that their fate is that they die. Like, they always die after fighting Spider-Man. And that is true. Except for a few. Lizard didn't die. Sandman didn't die. Who else didn't die? No, that's it, isn't it? Because Goblin died, Doc Ock died, and Electro died. Yeah, those are the only three that were dead, that died. Sandman and Lizard, no, they're cool. They're fine. They don't get killed. They're fine. They live at the end of their movies. Lizard just goes to prison. Sandman, he just starts to make amends with Spider-Man and tries to be there for his daughter. So that they're fine. They didn't die. So it was lost in translation because, Peter didn't know that. He didn't know that only two survive. He assumed that all of them died. So that's why he's trying to redeem them and trying to make sure they don't have a fate that's worse than death. And it is pretty nice to see that. Yeah, seeing him work in a lab with Norman Osborn and Doc Ock, two smart scientists, obviously, at his helm to help him try to get everyone to be fixed and redeemed, find a cure to make the lizard back to human form, trying to get Doc Ock to not be crazy and insane so he can have control of his to the tentacles since the back of his inhibitor chip broke. Getting Electro to stop being, Electro, obviously, and curing Norman Osborn of his split, Dr. Jekyll-like personality. It was nice to see that. Because it was him being good-hearted and good-natured to help these villains who you think were not redeemable, but honestly, they just had a lot of problems. One just started having a split personality and gone crazy. The other went crazy as well and only starts to become a bad guy for the good of science. Sandman, he just stole money just so he can go and help his daughter. Uh, who else? Dr. Connors, he just wanted his arm back, honestly. But then he went insane too and wanted to think that mankind should have the evolution to become a lizard. And Electro was just depressed and lonely, basically. Yeah, so all of them did had a lot of problems about them that was never fixed or ever redeemed about them because the hero doesn't have time to try and fix them and try to invent something to help them uh, survive. The only option in the desperate time and hour is only death, sadly. And which is pretty sad because some of those villains you kind of feel bad for. Some you're like, fuck them. Because, Green Goblin straight up did what he couldn't do to Peter Parker. And that stabbed someone with the glider straight up, which became the most shocking moment in the movie. Aunt May dying. I was really shocked about that. Because I never seen Aunt May ever dying except when I saw Peter Parker as a zombie, like freaking ripping her flesh apart and eating his own aunt. I was honestly shocked about this because never have I seen Aunt May die in like in every Spider-Man adaptation ever. It's just like she's alive, she's fine, she's alive, she's fine. I think Spider-Verse off-screen death where Peter B. Parker, his Aunt May sadly passed away. But that's because she died of old age, probably. Uh Here it's really dark just seeing her die. I was like, Jesus. Now he has no uncle and no aunt. That is so sad. And with great power comes great responsibility. Aunt May said that. Not Ben Parker, because Ben Parker is probably non-existent in the freaking MCU Spider-Man universe. Seriously, what happened to Ben Parker in this freaking universe? Because they don't explain it. They don't talk about it. I don't think I ever heard him ever say that his Uncle Ben died in that franchise ever. This whole entire trilogy, it's like Uncle Ben is non-existent. He doesn't matter. He didn't say with great power comes great responsibility. No, that was his aunt. But it is really sad and depressing seeing him feeling like he has lost everything. He feels like it's his fault, his mistake. And in cases, yes, it's true, but I felt like at first I was hating on this movie started because he made a stupid mistake. But then the more I think about it, he doesn't know. He's young. He's learning. He's trying to do his best. He is not doing this because he's dumb. He's just thinking what was probably the right idea at the time. And he's just learning from it. You can't blame someone who is trying to at least help. And it's really sad. You try to help, you try your best, but you fuck up in the process. But you try to redeem it, you try to fix it, which he does at the end of the movie, even though it's a depressing outcome, but it was still nonetheless him trying his best to save everyone because he wants to right the wrongs of a mistake, even if it means sacrificing something he truly cares about. And I like that. It felt like a real Spider-Man movie. This felt like there was actual stakes to it. It felt like an actual Spider-Man movie about the responsibility of becoming a hero and how to lead two different lives and trying to see what would work. And it's the struggle of being Spider-Man, and I like the struggles of him being Spider-Man. That's what I love about Spider-Man movies. It's the struggle of trying to do a lot to help people, to balance two lives, and trying to help the people while also trying to help yourself as well in the process in your life. It's a hard business. No, not everyone can be Tony Stark. Not everyone can be Iron Man, who can be rich and can make a lot of suits and do a lot for themselves. And this shows. This shows the struggles and hardships of becoming Spider-Man. And sometimes they just end in death. Sometimes they just end in tragedy. But it usually comes a better and hopeful outcome with the responsibility of becoming the hero. And I really did like that. It's something I never saw in the second movie. All I just saw was something that just bored me to death. While Homecoming kind of had that angle as well, but the only flaw it had was that it just felt like a Spider-Man movie that didn't have an origin story, which kind of is the downfall of it. But they figured you've seen that origin story so many times, we're just gonna spare you from it. And I can honestly say this has to be the best one out of the trilogy because honestly, as much as I love Tom Holland as Spider Man, as much as I love him as Peter Parker, I just never saw a Spider Man movie that left an impact on me, something that left a big impression. Because both Spider-Man movies in this trilogy, the first two, they just felt like standard superhero movies that you would see so many times before, and you're just like, sure, there's a few things good about them that I like, but it's just like, you don't, I just don't have nothing to go back to. If you can honestly hear about me, I never rewatched them. I've only seen them once or twice, and I'm like, I don't need to go back to it. You will see me returning to the Sam Raimi trilogy. Hell, I've constantly watched Spider-Verse a dozen times more than those two movies. I even saw Amazing Spider-Man again just to give it another chance. And you know what? I honestly was too harsh with the first movie. I mean, I still have problems with the first movie, but I thought it was pretty good. And Andrew Garfield is actually a damn good Spider-Man, especially in the sequel. Even though the sequel wasn't that great of a film, it was awful. I thought he was still a great Spider-Man, and there was some good conflict in him being Spider-Man in that movie as well, despite it was like, eh. Andrew Garfield, and yes, he's in this movie. I mean, we already knew that the two original Spider-Man actors were gonna come back in this movie. I mean, for fuck's sake, Andrew Garfield's ass was caught in 4K with a behind-the-scene feature of him talking to probably Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and we were right. And that's it. Like, we already knew that. And seeing these two actors again, seeing Tobey Maguire again, seeing Andrew Garfield again, it was just the nostalgia just poured back in. Seeing Tobey Maguire again as Spider-Man, it was amazing. I haven't seen Tobey Maguire in a movie God knows how long. And seeing him back in the role as Spider-Man, seeing him back as Peter Parker, seeing him back in that suit, it was just beautiful. I loved it. I just love seeing these three Spider-Man interacting with each other, trying to be in a team, and knowing that, the Avengers do not exist in their universe. But then again, the Punisher exists in Spider-Man's, in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe, so technically there's still that. But I just loved seeing all three generations of Peter Parker, Spider-Man actors coming together in this like last stand basically, and seeing them work together, seeing them trying to help the villains and cure them, and just interacting off each other and talking about what happened to them in their past, and what struggles and what pain that they have went through. Even Andrew Garfield, which was very depressing because yeah, he lost Gwen Stacy. And what I loved about this thing, because again, I didn't like the ending to Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought it was like it's a hammered in positive ending, when I honestly feel like the movie could have ended on a depressing note, and the next film could have been him struggling to come back as Spider-Man, coming back to grips to knowing that he lost the one woman he loved, which was Gwen Stacy. And then they actually do continue that in this movie, showing him showing Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man that he went back to being Spider-Man, but it was still difficult trying to be positive and happy and trying to save people because he technically lost his way after, Tom Holland's Peter Parker was like, "Oh, I want to kill Green Goblin because what he did to my aunt," and then Andrew Garfield's trying to tell him to not lose his way because he did start being violent and more like kind of murderous, but not that murderous, but basically blood hungry when he became Spider-Man. And then Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man also had to tell him like, you can't do that because I did murder the guy who killed my uncle, but I felt no satisfaction. I felt guilt. And it's basically them telling him murdering the Green Goblin is not going to solve anything. And Tom Holland was about to straight up kill him, like straight up, like about to stab him with the glider. But like freaking Tobey Maguire stopped him. He's like, "Don't do it. It's not worth it." Even though Green Goblin's like, "Nope," stabbing freaking Tobey Maguire. While freaking Spider-Man's like Andrew Garfield's like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I've been stabbed before." He has. And but good for Andrew Garfield to throw the cure to Tom Holland and then just stab Green Goblin with the cure, which was pretty fucked because it's too late. All the other villains are trying to come out. I saw the Rhino, the proper Rhino, not the shitty mechanical suit Rhino we got from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Even Andrew Garfield thought it was ridiculous. Because I love my favorite scene in this movie, or my favorite scenes in general, is just all three Spider-Man talking to each other. And I feel like half of their dialogue was probably improvised or ad-libbed, and I love that. Just seeing them interacting with each other before the big fight happens and talking about like, how the hell does Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man shoots web out of his arm, out of his body, while the rest of them are like, we have to constantly make our own web, which is like such a hassle to do. How are you doing it? How do you produce web out of your body? Like they're so confused about it. Even Tobey Maguire's like, "Wait, you have web shooters? You can't do this?" And they're like, "What the fuck?" It is honestly weird because the comic, the reason why he put his fingers like that, like, put two fingers on the palm of his hand, is because that's where the web shooters are. I have no idea why Peter Parker in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie was like, Yeah, why don't I just press my two fingers on the palm of my hand and all of a sudden web comes out of my body? Like, huh? Yes, no one would figure to do that. like like how would you know how to do that? Like, oh, of course, that's where web comes out of my body. Huh? Which is the most silliest thing ever because again he has web shooters. I think the only time he can do that without having web shooters is when he had the black suit, because when Peter Parker had the black Spider-Man suit on that was covered with the symbiote, he didn't need web shooters. Freaking Venom could have just make web shooters of his own because he doesn't need any. Like, and then that's it. But in the Sam Raimi one, he can, for some reason, it is very weird. I real. It's just the best interactions in the movie. Just seeing these three Spider-Men talk to each other, and Andrew Garfield thinking he's a lame Spider-Man. And honestly, I never thought he was a lame Spider-Man. I honestly thought he was a good Spider-Man. I just wished he was in better movies that weren't so studio made. And if you know what I mean by studio made, it doesn't mean like the director or writer had any creative input in it. It was a studio factory made movie that the studio thought would be better for the film, and not letting the director be creative with it like he was with the first movie, which was pretty sad. But I still thought Andrew Garfield was a damn good Spider-Man. I actually liked him. I liked Gwen Stacy. I thought those characters were great in the film. It's just I really wish that those movies were better handled and not such a corporate sellout kind of movie that was not made by creative minds. It was just made by studio heads that was like, yeah, no, we want you to do this. Yes. So if they ever do make an Amazing Spider-Man 3, which I kind of doubt, I honestly do want to know what happens. Like, I'm actually curious because an Amazing Spider-Man movie doesn't sound all that bad. A third one, I would love to see Andrew Garfield have a second chance at being Spider-Man. I think it would be cool. Hell, I would love to see Tobey Maguire back for one more outing as the titular character as well. Not gonna lie, I would like to see him. And hell, the actor who plays Aunt May is still alive. I'm not joking. She is still alive and kicking, so she could make that reappearance as well. Oh, so if they do make another one for those actors, I would love to see more from them. Like, Andrew Garfield deserves another chance at least. Because seeing his backstory come back, like the plots come back from their last movies that they ever did, it was really nice to see that. Like, it felt like a year, like a long waited like sequel to see how that story ended, and hearing them talk about the pain they went through. It felt really good to like hear them again, because it's like wondering what happened to them. How were they after all the shit that they went through in their last movie? Like, how did things go? How did things work out? Tobey Maguire, I guess he married Mary Jane Watson, and him talking about how hard it was, and he sees that, hey, we try to make it work, which is really nice to hear that he and MJ are doing well for each other after all this shit they went through in Spider-Man 3. So that was really nice to hear. I really like that. It was like hearing a nice little bow wrapped around conclusion that you would never think to get answered ever, after how many years of no sequel ever being coming to light. But now hearing them back again, hearing that they're doing fine or they went through a lot of pain and struggles that they had to get through, it is really nice to hear what they've been doing after all these years without hearing from them from another sequel. And I loved it. I loved hearing them talk. I loved hearing a lot of stuff. It makes me sad that I'm not going to probably see them again. Who knows? Because I honestly want to see more of these actors playing Spider Man again. I mean, I'm not opposed to having more. I do want more Spider Man with these three actors. I want Tobey Maguire again. I want Andrew Garfield again. I really want to see these two back in the big screen as to give himself another shot at being Spider-Man, which would be cool to hear about. Who knows? Maybe Toby is not up for it, probably. Who knows? But Andrew Garfield, I think he's still got another Spider-Man movie in him. So I do think that he should have another. Uh Yeah, hell, Electro should meet Miles Morales probably in the future because because he was like so disappointed that Spider-Man wasn't black. I was like, hey, if you ever see Miles Morales, then you probably get to see him. I was really depressed actually with the ending of this movie that Peter Parker had to make everyone forget that he was Spider-Man, which is the risk of people not knowing who he is, especially his friends, his close friends, his girlfriend in the process. And that was the only way he could to stop the bad guys from coming in, which was depressing because Green Goblin destroyed the spell to make it more harder to close. And everyone forgot about him. They really did it. They really made everyone forget about him. It is actually pretty sad, honestly. And hearing that Tom Holland saying that he wants to be done with Spider-Man probably in the future, it's like, I don't know. I feel like he should do another movie or at least something else to make sure that he can be remembered, or at least try to have everyone remember him so he can repair friendships that were forgotten, at least, so things could somewhat get back to normal. It is, I was like, I didn't expect it to be more depressing than it was. Like, you lost your aunt, and now you're gonna have everyone that you have ever cared about forget about you. It's pretty depressing. But it was nice. It really hurts seeing him trying to talk to MJ again, despite she doesn't remember him. He didn't even try to interact with his best friend because he's like, he doesn't remember me either, so that hurts. It really feels sad. I didn't expect a Spider-Man movie to depress me with an ending, but at least have a nice little conclusion of him making his own suit, but sadly without the technology of Tony Stark. And it looks like a suit that comes straight from the comics, which I'm actually down to see that suit be fully realized in a full movie, or at least in another Avengers film if they make one, if Tom Holland's willing to come back as Spider-Man one day. I would love to see more of that suit because that suit looked cool. It looked clean. It looked like a page out of the comics. I really did want to see that. I really want to see that suit like fully seen in like a more brighter setting instead of the dark. And I saw him like fly around near the Christmas tree, and I'm like, how long till Hawkeye destroys that tree? Well, not Hawkeye. It was Kate Bishop that destroyed the Christmas tree. But yeah, I love this movie. Probably the best live action Spider-Man movie I've seen in a long time. Hmm. But if I have my top three, number one, it's still Spider-Verse. I still believe Spider-Verse is still the best Spider-Man movie ever. It's still the greatest one. It is like the quintessential Spider-Man movie. Number two is No Way Home. I'm sorry. I I I liked it. It had a few problems, but I think Spider-Verse is better, sadly. I don't know. I kind of have problems with a few lines where, like, Tobey Maguire said that I had a best friend. He died after trying to kill me, which is wrong. I don't know if I misheard it, but I heard him say, like, he died trying to kill me after he tried to kill me. I thought he said that, or he said that after, like, Eddie Brock or someone else was trying to kill me. I don't know, because if he didn't say that, I could have misheard it and I couldn't hear through a bunch of people who were laughing in the theater. But I was one because I don't know if he said that he died after he tried to kill me, which is wrong. He died. He sacrificed himself trying to protect him. That's how Harry Osborn died. I don't know if I misheard it or not. A few things I was kind of like thinking to myself, like, how do they know his secret identity, even though they didn't learn it until they died? And I remember, I think in Spider-Man 2, yeah, Doc Ock did choke him out after he revealed who he was. And I guess that's when he got like teleported to the different universe. I don't know how Electro knew. Did did because I know that Harry Osborn didn't know it was Peter until he saw Gwen Stacy next to him. So I don't know how Electro knew about his identity. So I'm confused on that as well. How he knew about it. How did he learn about it? I don't even know. Maybe I gotta watch Amazing Spider-Man 2. He probably saw the identity before like the fight. I don't know. I gotta watch it again probably. Uh who else? Green Goblin, yeah, he did knew about Peter's identity also, but I guess he was about to like uh and well actually he already knew his identity like what? Like when he saw the blood and the scar on Peter's like arm, I guess. Yeah, that's when he knew about his identity. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think back so I can know the logic thinking like how do they know his identity? And I'm trying to remember. Like I'm trying to think back. Lizard. How did Lizard know? I'm trying to remember. How did Lizard Oh wait, yeah, he did took off his mask when he was helping Gwen Stacy's dad fight the lizard. I think that's how he knew. Okay. Uh I think I don't know. I gotta rewatch these movies back, like, and especially like rewatch them and then watch No Way Home again after seeing them again. I'm trying to remember a lot of like how of a few villains that knew his identity, but so far with the list of them, yeah, they knew. So could you imagine if we use like the lesser villains of Spider-Man to come and fight Peter Parker? Like it's not gonna be Green Goblin and Doc Ock. It's gonna be like freaking Venom from the movie. uh and and Mr. Dinkovich. Give me rent. I'm disappointed there was no Mr. Dinkovich cameo or something. Like, what if Peter Parker had a Mr. Dinkovich in his universe, like in the MCU? I would love that. I want it just because I just want to hear "Give me rent." Promises of crackers. My daughter will be fat. I want that. I just want Mr. Dinkovich back. I think I saw the black guy, the guy who says, "You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York." Like, I think I saw him, and he was like, when he was in the crowd of people, like Spider Man, I love you, Spider Man. And that other guy, the other black guy in the corner, also, the one that says, "Do a flip," is back. But I don't know if it was the same guy. I don't know if it was him because I saw him. I was like, is that the guy from the Sam Raimi trilogy that said you mess with Spider-Man, you mess with New York? It looked like him. I don't know if it was him, but it could have been. I would have been happy if it was because that's like a reference I would have loved to see again. Um, because it does make sense. There is a side that defends Spider-Man. There's a side that is opposed to him. Uh oh yeah, and Daredevil is back. I already knew this, but yeah, Daredevil is back, which is awesome. I was happy to see Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. I was like so happy, especially seeing Kingpin again in Hawkeye. I was like, wow, we're seeing a lot of the Daredevil cast, which is awesome. I really need to rewatch a lot of the Netflix shows again because I really love the Netflix shows uh, back then in 2016 or 2015, I think, back when I was watching them. I really need to like get back into them since seeing them back again in the MCU is just so it's just beautiful to me. I'm glad that they're back. So uh hopefully that means they're gonna get a new season. I really hope because I do want more Jessica Jones because I fucking love Jessica Jones. So I really hope there's more of Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Luke Cage also and Iron Fist. Not gonna lie, because second season it got better. So yeah, I've talked long enough about this. Uh, Wanting more of stuff that Marvel stuff coming to play because we had a lot of not good Marvel stuff that I didn't enjoy. Shang-Chi could have been better. It was more to me. Uh, Black Widow, I was pissed off. It was a sequel that was so many years too late that I wish that it was better. I wish that it was handled better or at least had a better, uh movie to come with it. Eternals didn't look that interesting to me. It felt like meh to me. The only things I liked was again the Marvel TV shows that we got. And the Marvel TV shows I liked WandaVision, I liked Loki, I liked What If, I loved Hawkeye. They were just I think Marvel was doing better with their TV shows than they were with their movies. I think they put more of their strength and effort in making that Spider-Man movie, which honestly was the best Spider-Man live action movie that the MCU has ever made. So yeah, I give them props for that, which is awesome. So yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw this in an IMAX theater, which was cool. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I give No Way Home a 9.8 out of 10. It was close to a 10. It was close to a 10, but Spider-Verse was more of that 10 out of 10 movie that was awesome. That I feel like No Way Home was very close at accomplishing. Also, I'm disappointed that Venom didn't see Spider-Man. Just like it was so stupid where it was just him being told and explained about, oh, yeah, there was this where like, yeah, this is a universe where a bunch of superheroes exist. And I don't know, just hearing Venom just say the line, Eddie, we are drunk. Just made me lose it. I don't know why. I just like, Eddie, we are drunk. I just found it funny. And then they went back to their universe before they even had the chance to meet Spider-Man. But the hope I have is that a part of the symbiote is still in the MCU. So that could mean that we could get the Black Suit Spider-Man arc. And if we do, and if they're gonna do the Black Suit Spider-Man arc, I hope they do it properly this time, because it was not done right in the Spider-Man 3. So if we do it right, we get ourselves another Eddie Brock. I don't know who could play Eddie Brock. And then we'll get our own Venom in that universe, and it will be a Venom that actually has the Spider-Man like logo on its chest, and maybe we'll get a more violent Carnage. Actually, I don't think we will get a Carnage, because I doubt it, because if we can't have a Carnage properly in the Sony verse, then why not? I don't think MCU was going to be like, yeah, rated R, gory, violent Carnage in the MCU that is mainly PG-13. It's totally going to fly. I don't think it will. They're never going to do that. I wish they would, but they're not. I just want a fucking gory, violent, and fun Carnage. I mean, Woody Harrelson was nice and all, but I really wish they went high above rated R status on that movie. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, darlings.
Ow, ow, ow! Ow! Ow!